Good evening, everyone. My name is Heather Smith, and on behalf of Rayjon, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to tonight's President's Zoom Connection. We've got this time of social distancing, so it's really wonderful to be able to connect together in this way tonight. We're distant, but we are not apart as we come together to support Rayjon's mission in the world. We know it's a historic evening tonight with the US elections happening. Let's make it a historic evening for Rayjon as well. 2021 will actually mark 35 years of Rayjon history. So we have some exciting things to look forward to as well. We're asking for patience. Tonight we are joined by some wonderful Haitian partners, our senior leaders, Andre and Renaud from Haiti. We can't promise a solid connection, so please be patient if there are delays or interruptions in their connection. With that, I think we are set to begin. So I'm going to start by welcoming Rayjon's co-founder and president, Mr. John Barnfield.
Good, thank you, Heather. I hope everybody can hear me okay. Anyway, welcome to you all, wherever you may be. And I know we have at least 3 people who are from outside the country. We will hear from Renaud and Andre from Haiti in a little bit while, but I just want to acknowledge my cousin Jane in the UK. She probably wasn't expecting that acknowledgement, but anyway, welcome Jane, thank you for joining us. I hope you are all well and coping with the challenges, and I would like to say opportunities that we are all facing. Since we last met, in inverted commas, in June, that's 4 or 5 months ago now, many of us in Canada have continued to be in what some of us would call a lockdown mode. However, despite this, much has been going on in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. I have been inspired by the reports I've received from Renaud and Andre from Haiti and the DR, and look forward to hearing more about it tonight as the evening unfolds. As I reflect on life in Haiti and the DR, and also on Rayjon's changing role here in Canada, I'm filled with hope and offer this brief prayer reflection from Thomas Merton, who's a prolific spiritual writer. And he says, "For perfect hope is achieved on the brink of despair when, instead of falling over the edge, we find ourselves walking on the air. Hope is always just about to turn into despair, but never does so. For at the moment of supreme crisis, God's power is suddenly made perfect in our infirmity. When I find myself falling over the edge in times of testing or tragedy, I pray, confident that God will provide wings for me." So again, welcome to everybody. And at this point, we're going to move on to stories from Canadians. And for those people who may be here for the first time on the Zoom session, Father Dan Veer, who sends his apologies, he can't be with us tonight, but he's been collecting stories from Rayjon travelers, and he tells me he's accumulating a good number of stories, and we have decided to pick a couple tonight. We have a couple of kind volunteers in Debbie Austin and Ann Tuplin who are going to share their brief stories from their experience or experiences within Rayjon. So I'm going to invite Debbie Austin, if she's available and ready to go, for Debbie to take over and share your story with us. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, and hello to everybody. A special hello to Renaud and Andre who are joining us tonight. I My story brings us back to January of 2020, when a window opened after several canceled attempts to travel to Haiti in 2019. The political unrest and violence had quieted enough that the board approved Heather Smith, Cheryl DeGroot, and I to travel to Haiti on a monitoring trip to a safe rendezvous point near Cap Haitian to spend time face-to-face with key leadership from the St. Mark RSCH team, from the Cap Haitian Sinusi Sacred Heart Malnutrition Center, representation from the Women's Federation in St. Mark, and members of a new partner team from the DR called Puentes. But our safe travel was not the only consideration in that approval, because many of our Haitian travelers had a very risky trip by vehicle from St. Mark, with the possibility of roadblocks, gangs, and violence on the mountain roads. So the timing had to be right for all of us. We stayed together at the Deep River Mission, which was an American Christian-run guest house, a safe place with a walled compound near Cap Haitian. We were surprised to learn that during the many years of that guest house's existence, after welcoming many, many groups and individuals, they had never had even one Haitian guest stay overnight at that guest house. Never. No Haitians had ever been guests at that guest house in Haiti. So our group was their first, and for all of us, perhaps a learning opportunity to raise our awareness about the way we treat each other. We noticed little things like prayers only in English, with resistance to the suggestion of taking a turn to say grace in Creole, or for pausing to translate from English for those whose first language was Creole and who spoke no English. Concerns were expressed to us on the first evening when we shared a prestige with our Haitian friends, and we were cautioned to make sure that things wouldn't get out of hand. We saw some discomfort and uncertainty on the part of our hosts there to be up close and personal, sharing living space with Haitian people. Assumptions and subtle but unmistakable messages, we felt, that challenged us as they unfolded and were not in keeping with our sense of justice and mutual respect. The experience challenged us to reflect on our own behavior, to be more mindful and aware of how our Haitian friends were feeling, how they were being treated by ourselves and others, and how we would feel if being treated the same way. So it reminded us of our role in recognizing issues, being vigilant, and advocating for equality and respect. Now, we did have some great experiences, and we spent lots of time together with our Haitian teammates, working hard with a very ambitious and intense agenda. And we were so proud to see the leadership and passion for community development, despite how recently they and their families and communities had been traumatized by an escalation in violence in the streets, by a complete shutdown for weeks because of the persistence of violence, danger, and unrest due to a severe gasoline shortage and a corruption scandal in 2019. So we really respect and admire the dedication, vision, and tenacity that we witnessed in these difficult times. And remember, that was before COVID-19 struck and before their president, Moise, thumbed his nose at the idea of holding proper elections this year, and before the currency crisis facing Haitians today. Whether it was despite or because of the seriousness of our work and the context, our wise projects manager, Heather, surprised the group with a couple of games that she pulled out of her bag to bring the magic of laughing and playing together, to balance the intensity of our work and to restore our waning energy. So you'll see that Jenga became the conduit for building connections. Playing this game, trying not to topple a tower of wooden blocks, needed no translator because friendly competition and laughter are universally understood. But there was another memorable game that was a real hit. Heather brought a little bit of Canada to share with our Haitian friends. A snowball fight, if you can believe it, with fake soft snowballs, a clever game that Heather had created since we can't bring our friends to Canada to experience snow for real. So we found ourselves in teams chasing each other with snowballs in January under the warm Haitian sun. In addition to the exercise and laughter that came with the game, that game demanded patience and kindness from each player to team members like me of lesser athleticism and skill. Playing together broke ice, built trust, built teamwork, and built connections. Now, some 10 months later, as the pandemic has shut down the possibility of travel to Haiti or the DR for the time being, and as we rely on technology for communication, I am so enormously grateful for the games that we played and for the work that we did the learning and the listening together, the laughter and the struggles, and the common goals and the purpose that we share in Rayjon, Canada and Haiti, because quality of life is justice, not charity. Thank you, and that's my story.
Good. Thank you, Debbie. That's great. And while Anne is getting set up here, just a reminder to people, if you have promised Father Dan a story or two, please go ahead and submit your story to Father Dan. He's, I know, anxious to receive any new stories that you might have. So whether he's approached you or not, please feel free to contact him and let him have your story. So on that note, Anne, I can't see you, but I'm hoping you are there and ready to share your story. So over to you, Anne.
I am here. Thank you very much, and welcome to everybody, and especially to our Haitian guests. My first trip to Haiti with Rayjon was in June of 2012. The trip was led by John Barnfield, who was the project's director at the time, along with John Popiel, who was the project manager. To set the context, CEDA, or federal government funding, had ended. Programs had to be cut, services ended, and staff let go. In particular, the field director of the day, Diodon, was at the end of her notice period, and she was serving her last few days with Rayjon. How the future would unfold was very uncertain. Would all programs have to end? Without a local field director, how would changes be implemented? The one glimmer of hope was that just prior to leaving Canada for Haiti, Rayjon had been informed that a few community leaders in Gilbert were willing to discuss collectively managing the existing programs. However, this opportunity had not been fully explored, and there were still lots of unknowns. A community meeting was scheduled in the chapel in Gilbert. Large numbers of community members were present with very legitimate questions and concerns about the future. A large flatbed truck showed up filled with women happily chattering who joined the meeting. John Barnfield and John Popiel provided what answers they could. At the meeting's conclusion, there were, for the community and Rayjon, still plenty of outstanding questions and reservations, but there was a plan to go forward with community leadership. At that point, the entire collection of women, probably about 30 in number, stood up to sing a cappella, How Great Thou Art. A beautiful and, as far as I could see, completely spontaneous performance. Those women knew in whom to put their faith. They were confident, despite the lack of clarity, that things would work out. Although many things have changed in St. Mark, community development there is showing great promise with active community involvement and leaders who value grassroots development. The faith and resilience of those women then and now, in light of their many hardship, inspires me greatly. And that is my story.
Thank you, Anne. At this stage, I'm going to hand over to Heather for the project phase of tonight's meeting.
Thank you, John. Okay, so as you all know, we have some very special guests joining us direct from Haiti, and we will focus the bulk of the rest of the evening on special updates, exciting announcements, news, and question and answer period from Haiti. But we certainly don't want to neglect our partners in the Dominican Republic, who, although are not joining us for this Zoom connection, are certainly very near and dear to our hearts and the Rayjon mission overall. So I'd like to share just a couple brief updates about what is happening in the Dominican Republic at the Rayjon supported project site in Consuelo area. So you may or may not know that the Dominican Republic has been hit quite hard by COVID-19. As of last week, they were up over 125,000 cases, over 2,200 deaths, in a population of 11 million people. The DR is still reporting hundreds of new cases daily. And right in the middle of or beginning of COVID, they actually had a transition of presidential power. So that certainly complicated the situation and the planning and how the government, what their restrictions were. So it made it very difficult for schools to open. Government schools were not scheduled to open until this week. There are still lockdowns and curfews in place in hotspot regions, although many things have reopened. At the very beginning of COVID, Rayjon was able, through generous donations, to be able to assist with some COVID prevention strategies, including distribution of masks. You can see on the screen now, this is our wonderful sewing instructor from Consuelo, Doña Rosa, who herself spent hours and hours making just masses of masks that were distributed throughout the communities. We've also been able to support 2 emergency food distributions that have assisted over 75 families in that marginalized neighborhood of Barrio 41. As you all know, the preschool there does serve a hot meal daily to every child that attends, and for many of them, that's their only meal daily. So certainly through this time of lockdown with the school closure, it's been very important that we've been able to assist with some emergency food distributions. There is actually exciting news from the preschool though. Despite the closure, our preschool teachers, Deannie and Josie, have gotten very creative with how to navigate this new world that we're all trying to figure out. And so what they did was start using the WhatsApp app communication tool, which is commonly available in the DR, even to very vulnerable. So most families do have a functioning cell phone, some internet access. And so starting in late August, on a part-time basis, the teachers sent instructions to parents via the WhatsApp, created lessons for the students to follow at home. And then the students were able to attend part-time once a week or more in smaller groups to get some one-on-one time as follow-up with the teachers as well. So I'm going to just share with you right now this adorable video clip of some of the students learning.
Ya. Buenas tardes, yo soy Rayjon, estamos que faltarnos feliz. Tenemos el cuerpo con un vocal A, y cabeza, mano, nariz. Buen día, yo me llamo Génesis, tengo 4 años. Estas son las vocales A, E, I, O, U. Gracias. Yeah.
So you can see that learning certainly hasn't stopped, and we look forward to hearing how things go as the school begins to open more and more daily. Also in the last year, some exciting developments are what has been happening with the documentation project. So we know that this is a serious justice issue in the region. Many families of Haitian heritage, even those who've been living in the Dominican Republic for generations, face this horrendous barrier to access to education, healthcare, employment opportunities because they don't have the paperwork that the Dominican government requires. And so about 1.5 years ago, we were able to start this pilot documentation project to assist some of those families with getting their citizenship, getting the required paperwork that they need. We know that it's a very long and arduous process for many of them. You need to go back to the mother and the grandmother and so on to get some of these documents and proof of birth and go through the legal process. Currently, there are 30 direct beneficiaries in that program, 36 more indirect. About 10 cases have been completed in entirety, some of the simpler ones. The ongoing cases, it's a multi-step process, so we are pleased to be able to stand with those beneficiaries as they're assisted through every step of that journey. And on the left, you can see the team at our partners with Escala who are working directly with beneficiaries. We've got some wonderful Dominican lawyers who are offering their services pro bono. On the right, you can see one of the very first beneficiaries to receive her birth certificate and the lawyer Daniela who assisted her with that process. So we're excited about that progress. There have also been some tremendous updates in terms of the fish project and the garden, some big improvements there, and upgrades, irrigation system that is now working well to keep the water moving. We've had some difficulty sourcing the correct type of pump from the Dominican. We have now found it, but it still needs to be installed by our technician who has been very busy and of course interrupted by COVID. So still some upgrades yet to come, but the fish project is moving along, certainly supplying fish to the preschool. And of course, the goal with that is that eventually fish that aren't needed to be daily food at the preschool will be able to be sold at very affordable prices to the neighborhood as a quality source of protein. On the right, you can see a section of the garden. This section has just been replanted with fresh seedlings, so that's why it's not quite as lush as some of the other areas, but I can assure you the garden has certainly flourished in the last year and is able to provide nutritious produce on a daily basis at the school. There are also plans in the works to offer some preliminary horticultural training to local families, assisting them with being able to grow some home container gardens as well, to learn more about nutritious gardening and how to do it on their own. And possibly the most exciting, most recent news anyway, out of the DR would be what is happening with the empowerment of women. So many of you know that last year saw the first 10 microcredit loans dispensed in that community with the formation of a women's group that is now meeting pretty regularly. And again, in partnership with the fabulous people at Escala who are assisting with documentation, they have also been now assisting with some workshops and capacity building for women. So many of these women already operate small home businesses, and some of them were assisted last year by the microcredit program, but often they lack some of the business know-how or skills for managing personal finances. And so Escala has been providing a series of workshops to teach them about managing finances, how to plan for success, how to market their business and find their niche. These women have now formed a self-savings group that is meeting twice a month. They're on that path to self-sufficiency, and this is certainly a project that we expect to continue, hope to see expand in the coming year as well. And at some point, I do hope that we'll be able to have a call or a Zoom meeting of some sort dedicated specifically to the Dominican as well. So those are just some quick updates for you out of the DR, but I know we're all anxious to get to our special guests. So tonight, it's certainly my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Andre Jean-Pierre, who has been the director of the CNUC, or the Center for Education for Women and Children in Cap Haitian. Since 2011, Andre has been the director there. He also provides overall guidance and support to all Rayjon supported activities in Haiti. And we've asked him today to be prepared to share with us some updates about what is happening there in Cap Haitian. Andre's also worked very hard to get us some videos, some of the beneficiaries at the center there. So Andre, before I show your videos, can you just say hello? Let's make sure that we can hear you okay. And it's possible that we have lost Andre. He did text me to let me know that it was raining quite hard in Cap Haitian and his connection might be unstable. So
he was on at first, but I saw he's dropped off since.
Yeah, he may have disappeared. Okay, so what we'll do then is we'll show the videos, and as soon as Andre comes back on, we'll still try and interact as best we can for any questions.
I'm Andre Jean-Pierre with Alan Petitcombe, the nurse of the CNUC, and we would like to take this time to talk to the nurse concerning the progress of the Children in Nutrition Program. The increase in numbers that we've been seeing, a spike in numbers in the nutrition program, as well as a general update of the coronavirus and the measures and procedures taken at the center to try to combat against the coronavirus.
Moi, je me sens très bien pendant la période ça, mais auparavant le premier venir pendant le coronavirus là, j'ai commencé à avoir quelques inconvénients parce que pour aller partir normal. Mais pendant la fin du programme, nous avons commencé à améliorer et puis il y a quelques changements tout qui viennent. Parce que il y a effectivement de soins parents pratiquement. Mais pour y aller, moi, je commencé à penser quoi.
Est-ce que
il y en a qui fait suivi à la taille, mais il y en a qui pas fait suivi.
Pour quelle raison?
Donc, il y en a qui continuent ça et bien collège. Ils ont quitté tout le monde dans la taille, même il y a quelques petites activités à faire, mais il y en a autour qui ont la négligence. Donc, maladie qui peut se présenter tout le monde dans le dernier mois, ça a aussi fièvre. ti moun yo gen fièvre rouge et puis gen nan ou pa vle manger. Yo gen fièvre rouge tous, ti moun sa ou pa vle manger. Mais ça pas dit c'est corona directement ti moun yo gen. Parce que gen fièvre, ti moun an kon gen corps tellement chaud, ça veut dire que nous sommes toujours là, on a construit ti moun sa yo, et puis tout va par au conseil. Mais puis j'en peux faire ti moun et puis tout gen ti moun qui pa vle manger. Pas bien manger, ça a coupé l'appétit à l'auto. Mais avec le temps, tant que je dis, moi, j'ai mangé timidement. On toujours fait distribution. Mais il y a des gens qui évoluent avec les médicaments, il y a des gens qui ne pas évoluer. Ça dépend des parents. Les gens qui bénissent chaque vendredi. Il y a des parents qui peuvent négliger les gens la caillou, mais nous toujours pas on conseille pour toujours bâtir le mamba parce que la vidéo mais il y en a qui évolue mais il y en a tout on essaie ba mais ça dépend des parents gen moun qui pas croire dans maladie gen tout qui croire là mais ça va pas veut dire il va exister maladie exister et il vient à Haïti. Mesures de précaution seulement. Nous pas évoluer parce que c'est laver main, porter masque, il y en a même si on pas accepter porter. Mais quand nous parlons autour, nous parlons, nous disons c'est pour toujours l'été et puis toujours laver mais ça fait nous mettre vos kits là, savon, mettre l'eau close ça donne pour être capable toujours laver. Mais après ça, nous timidement comme ça, quelques cas qui augmenté un jour, 2 jours, pas connaître. Après ça, mais là, timidement, nous suivre et puis n'a pas parents au conseil tout, juste pour nous capable toujours mettre à la disposition de maladie avant tout ça. Mais tout le monde va faire vraiment, pour tout le monde aussi, maladie ça, surtout déjà, maintenant, déjà. La côté en pile, la fait un peu de dégâts dans 4 minutes.
Ok, et dernier bagage que je dit, c'est nous avons gagné un peu d'augmentation en cas qui arrive dans le programme de question, parce que le programme de question est rebalancé à partir des mois 12 août. 12 août, nous avons rebalancé et nous avons commencé environ 10 millions. Chaque semaine, nous avons augmenté, et juste combien nous avons dit, nous avons passé 30. Et est-ce que vous avez une explication sur l'augmentation, ça qui sont pensés qui pose, et qui sont pensés nous allons faire? Est-ce que nous allons arriver au moment où nous ne pas prendre encore? Comment on fait?
Et avant, ce que nous ne pas prendre encore, parce que jour après jour, genre, situation que il y a bien plus de monde qui en nécessité. Et puis pour ça fait qu'il y a plus 4 monde qui m'a nourri. Parce que imaginez, il y a des parents qui peuvent travailler, des parents qui perdu travail et tout. Parce qu'à cause de la situation qu'il y a, il y a un peu de monde qui a avancé pour reculer à cause des moyens économiques et tout. Ça fait nous formons toujours à la disposition par ça.
I am Andre from the CMC, and we are live here with Julienne Analiat. She is a beneficiary of the life skills class. She's been in the program for a little over a month. She's 24 years old, and she has 4 children, all girls, and the last one, which is 20 months, is in the nutrition program currently. Okay, est-ce que vous avez un petit doigt comment c'est fait pour clair? est-ce que vous sentez ça quand les gens vont préparer pour peut-être permettre au café comme un jour?
Oui, la météo avec des petits uniformes.
Et si on va faire un petit programme qui s'adapte?
Qui ça me va dire? On a dit merci toujours. Auparavant, merci toujours. Et on a plus, l'occasion plus force, plus opportunité. Et pour qu'on plus avancer toujours. Si ça me va plus avancer toujours, on va continuer. Si on a toujours arrêter, parce qu'ils vont le dire qu'on va arriver à oui, et merci monsieur Jean-Pierre. Merci encore. Merci parce que montrer là tout parce que montrer là me sentir confiante.
Hello, I'm Andre from the CDC, and we're live here with a parent from the nutrition program, and her name is Mondezia Lecia. She is 39 years old and has 2 kids, one of which is 2 years old in the nutrition program right now. I'm Andre GP.
I'm going to pause. Andre, have you been able to rejoin us? I know he's texting me that he's trying. This last participant, we actually weren't able to translate ahead of time. So if we don't have Andre on the line, I'm going to bypass that particular beneficiary. Okay, I don't think he's been able to enter.
No, he's not on.
Okay, no worries. He's trying. One option is that if you do still have a particular question for Andre, keep entering it in the chat box anyways. I have him available by text, so we can do it that way. If he texts to me, I will certainly respond on his behalf. I chatted with him this morning, and I know that that last beneficiary certainly had good things to say as well. Her child is also on the road to recovery because of the nutrition program. So let's hope, keep our fingers crossed that Andre is able to come back at some point this evening, and we'll just hold her for that time. We do have Renaud on the line as well, though. So again, it's a big pleasure for me to be able to introduce Renaud for those of you who have not met him. Renaud is our community coordinator and manager of Rayjon Share Care of Haiti in the St. Marc region. It's very important tonight to know that that photo on the left is a picture of Renaud holding a breadfruit tree. So we're going to come back to that in a little bit. Renaud is a very experienced, highly qualified agronomist. He has a specialty in permaculture. Renaud, are you us? Can you say a quick hello?
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be with you tonight.
Wonderful. Okay, your connection is loud and clear, so that's perfect. So I want to share with everyone that the context that Renaud is working in the Haute St. Marc region is very different to the context that Andre works in the urban area in Cap-Haïtien. So Renaud is working in a very rural environment in multiple villages surrounding the city of St. Marc. And he and his team have prepared something very special for us tonight. So what I'm going to do is a very quick overview, some of the updates of the projects that Renaud is overseeing in that region, and then I'm going to turn it entirely over to Renaud and we'll share that exciting update. So the first one is the Pension. Many of you have had the, can I say pleasure? I think it's a pleasure of the arduous hike to the Pension School, where there are currently over 300 students. There's a lot happening there, and we're very proud of all of the efforts at the Pension School. So throughout the pandemic, of course, schools nationwide in Haiti were closed, much as they were in Canada, but the Pension School got up and running before many of them and has continued to be regarded as the best school in the region, with many families sending their children on very long hikes to be able to attend that school. There's been a lot of ongoing construction work. So it was they returned to school at some point in August to finish up last year's curriculum, hold the exams in the month of October, and then reopen again for the following school year, the 2020-2021 year in November. So after exams, there was another period that was a break, and everyone in the community of Pinson has taken advantage of that break to get to work. We have women carrying rocks over large distances from the river up to the school that are going to be used in repairing the dormitories for the teachers. Community members pitching in a variety of ways to get those dormitory repairs done. And they are also working on constructing a very small boutique, which is going to be sort of a general store for that community. Now, for those of you who don't know, Pinson is very far removed from the local marketplace. And so families in that region really don't have access to basic necessities, food supplies, hygiene items that you might need without taking the long trek to the marketplace. And so everyone there is very excited about the opportunity to have this boutique available, which we hope will become a source of income and sustainability for the school as well. Also in the St. Mark region, we are supporting through partnership adult literacy classes in 3 different areas with about 60 students in total and 4 different levels of adult literacy. They followed the same calendar that government schools followed. So we have just now completed all of the exams for last year and are about to launch into a brand new year of adult literacy. So this program continues to be just a tremendous success and empowering to that region overall. This photo on your screen is a photo of Haitian in the Haute-Saint Marc region. So the Women's Federation is made up of representatives from 7 different villages in that area who come together under one grassroots federation. We're very excited to be partnering with them once again. This is a very long relationship for Rayjon, but one that has certainly been strengthened in recent years. And I'm going to stop talking at this point and let you enjoy this fabulous presentation that Renaud and the women have created especially for this evening.
Haute-Saint Marc, c'est une section dans la commune Saint-Marc, dans le département la Tibonite en Haïti. Dans Haute-Saint Marc, nous avons un pile ressources naturelles et un pile potentialité. Nous avons un pile jardin. Nous plantons patates, maïs, lame, mango, zaboka, diri. Ça veut dire nous vivons de l'agriculture. Pour raison ça, Fédération Femmes dans la 4e section Haute-Saint Marc voulait mettre tête ensemble avec RSCH pour mettre sous pied un moulin qui transformer l'âme véritable en farine. Projet ça a pile importance pour Fédération Femmes à communauté et pour pays. Et la paix des femmes sorti dans situation côté qui difficile parce que nous pral transformer l'âme nan farine ça la paix de nous fait un paquet de série de l'autre bagaille et l'âme nous yo tap gaspiller kounya la permettre l'âme yo plus conserver et mesdames yo tout a content communauté a content en pile de projet ça.
Grâce à projet ça, puis former mesdames dans la zone nan pour avoir accès puis plus à un paquet de produits tant que maïs moulin, diri moulin, farine lame, farine patate, farine manioc et la trier. Mesdames dans la zone nan pour avoir accès pour acheter puis plus pour capable à vendre et business yo a bien marcher, ça permet vie mesdames yo à améliorer.
Communauté a adjoint plus service rapide, vinn gen moins dépenses, surtout dans cause transport parce que les moun yo besoin moulin duri, pitimi, yo payer en pile couche machine pour yo joindre service ça fait yo pas joindre en pile bénéfice. Dans ce sens ça Projet ça vraiment utile moun qui dans communauté yo parce que y a besoin bon gens service en dans communauté.
Grâce à projet ça, Fédération Femmes nan pral vin gen plus valeur, Fédération Femmes nan pral élargi, Fédération Femmes nan pral augmenter connaissance li, il pral gen en pile importance, il pral créer en pile belle bagay en dans communauté a. Comme ça femme yo pral vin gen plus valeur tout en dans communauté a, yo pral capable réaliser un paquet l'autre bagay derrière projet ça. C'est comme ça tout femme fédération femme nan lui même li pral vin gen plus capacité, yo pral vin vivre plus grand en dans communauté à côté tout monde capable pral apprécier produit que yo pral mettre sous pied.
Importance projet ça gen pour pays non, li permettre plus moun joindre travail pour répondre à besoin économie, li permettre ti moun à l'école plus bien pour prendre soin famille plus bien.
Pépinière l'âme nous pral gagner dans cadre projet ça, li pral permettre nous joindre plus pied l'âme, li pral permettre nous rebraser zone là et la permettre nous toujours joindre plus l'âme pour nous transformer en farine.
Farine l'âme nous pral produit dans cadre projet ça a bien en pile importance. Parce que farine l'âme non, li bay force, li bay énergie, li bon pour santé moun. Li bon pour moun qui fait sucre, pour moun qui fait tension. Et yon nan pi gros importance farine l'âme nan gen, c'est que li conserver plus longtemps parce que l'âme nan. Et ça permet l'âme nou yo pas gaspiller encore.
Grâce à projet ça nous va gagner dans zone non, va gagner plus pied là. Et puis là ça va contribuer dans protection terre yo, surtout les là qui tomber pour éviter trop de dégâts faits dans l'environnement. Parce que les gains là qui tomber, des fois nous on perdit un paquet et bagay. Surtout dans question bête nous yo, dans fruit nous yo et qu'on gon paquet de bagay nous on perdit par rapport des rebrasements qui manquent dans zone là. Mais avec projet ça nous va gagner, nous croyons assurer certain à travers plus pied l'âme ça yo, nous croyons avoir moins de dégâts faits dans l'environnement.
J'en entendais, mesdames et messieurs, parler du projet. Le projet lui-même, là, a en pile importance pour mesdames en dans la communauté. Le projet lui-même, là, a en pile importance pour la communauté. Le projet lui-même, il va en pile valeur pour la fédération. Il va permettre la fédération femmes avancer et la gagner en pile relation en dans la communauté. Et nous déjà dit merci avec RSCH pour toute valeur, pour tout support déjà porté pour nous réaliser le projet. Pour le projet à réaliser, nous avons besoin d'un paquet de support pour le projet capable de réaliser. Et nous disons un grand merci avec tout le staff RSCH qui a contribué avec nous pour faire le projet ça réaliser dans la localité. En collaboration avec tout le monde et puis le projet à lui-même pour capable d'avancer. Nous disons merci.
Bravo. So Renaud, we will welcome you back online with us. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of questions about that project in particular. Thank you also for your assistance in supporting the women to create that video for us. It is so wonderful to see their faces and hear their voices and the ways that they chose to express their ideas and their enthusiasm about the project to us. So thank you for that. So let's invite people to start entering questions into the chat box. I'm going to get things kicked off a little bit here. I've got this quote, brilliant, something that Renaud just said in passing in one of my phone calls with him recently. And I think it really speaks to some of the efforts that are happening with the women. Renaud, one thing that people on this call might not be aware of is that the Women's Federation actually just became landowners. So maybe we could start there. Can you tell us about the purchase of land and how that happened?
Okay, sorry. So if I have to talk about the country, so there's a lot of bad things to say, but there's a lot of great things to say too. But I prefer to talk about the great things that happen in Haiti now. Like you mentioned it. So now we use the approach of community leadership or community development. In that way, we, like you mentioned it, in the community, we have community school that a way parents get together to find strategies when there's a lot of trouble, when political troubles, gangs, problem. So there is a way parents get together to make it work. And we talk about like healthcare center, like it happened with the dispensary of Bob. And the same, we talk about community stores. So when there's like food problem in the country or because of political problems, people can't find goods to buy. So now we try to create like community stores. Like now it's a time for community business. A community business is kind of a way to value the product that farmers, product that available in the community. So there's something that maybe complicated to explain how things happen in Haiti. So when it's the time for harvesting like goods or product from the gardens, all prices just fall down because they're just wasting. There's no way to value them. And this is true even for breadfruit, maybe something you're not used to. So when the breadfruit is just matured, after 2 days, it just spoil and wasting. And this is why today the Women Federation 7 association just get together and collect funds. And yeah, with that funds, they decide with the region Check Haiti after many discussions, like defining strategies, how to manage everything, how to write down rules. So sort of guidance, they decide the best thing for them to do in the community is just buying a piece of land. In that piece of land, they're gonna create a community business where they're gonna ask all farmers to bring what is available, what is wasting. They're gonna process them. Like they're gonna process breadfruit in breadfruit flour. They're gonna process like potatoes and all other crops that they can process into in a way that they conserve for a longer period of time. And also in that piece of land, they intend to plant breadfruit saplings or the seedlings, a way they want to reverse the problem of the climate change problem. They say, okay, we're gonna reforest the mountain. We're gonna encourage farmers to plant trees, a way we can have, in the past, they couldn't value the products. And if we have the factory that can process everything, so we can invite the farmers to plant. They're gonna like cover all the mountain. It's pretty exciting project. I can even explain how I'm excited about this project. So I'm not sure I'm really able to tell everything about this project, but there's 3 things I would like to mention. The first thing is like after this project, they're gonna fix the problem of price. Like when price go down because too much product, the women say, okay, we're gonna just fix that problem. All the way, they're gonna encourage farmers to plant trees to reforest the area. Also, they're gonna resolve the problem of poverty and migration in the community. At the same time, they're gonna try to reverse at their level the climate change problem that just happened where all over in the world. So thank you.
Sorry, I was on mute. That's great. Thank you, Renaud. So we're starting to get some questions here. So we understand that the project will involve the planting of a nursery. So first question, how many years does it take a breadfruit sapling to be able to bear fruit?
Yeah, there is two steps. The first step in a tree nursery, they're gonna stay. So we're gonna just grow breadfruit from the roots, cutting. They're gonna take about 6 months. And once they just mature it in the tree nursery, they can transplant it to the gardens. They're gonna take between 3 and 5 years to bear.
Okay, wonderful. And in the meantime, of course, we know that the project also involves rice and corn mills and equipment that's capable of processing other produce from the area that is already matured. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So now there are 2 mills, community mills, and they're just gonna be managed by the women. So the first one, like the rice, because people plant rice. If you just follow the video, you're gonna see a lot of rice. So now people just travel, they pay a lot of transportation fees to grind the mills. So to get the rices. So now they wanna make the so manage this mills in the community. They're gonna help a lot. And there's a corn mill also. So the people will not need to travel far away to grind the mills. So yeah, the project gonna involve rice, maize, and many other crops.
Okay, wonderful. And what are some of the ideas that the women have for how they would use the income when the project starts making money? What kinds of things would they like to do with those funds in their community?
Yeah, the main goal of the project is to generate enough money to increase the microcredit programs. Like they say, okay, there are a lot of women that just ask for a loan, and we don't have that quantity. You know, they say if we can just organize ourselves in the community, we generate income. That's a way they're gonna firstly encourage all the women to do a business, but they're gonna open to farmers also. So if farmers gonna plant their gardens or buy seeds, they don't have enough money, they say, okay, we're gonna borrow that money, and they're just gonna put some some benefit, and we just gonna increase the capital.
Okay, wonderful. And Renaud, I know that for a long time you have been a very strong advocate and supporter for empowering women. And we know that you were actually involved in getting a women's group going in your own hometown. What sort of progress are you seeing with the women in St. Mark? Why is the empowerment of women so important to you? And how are you seeing them grow?
I think the way that the women just growing is amazing. When I first arrived in St. Mark, I saw like 7 associations. The first thing they do that they get together to organize themselves in a federation. So with the federation, start not 7 associations, just one big association, and each association aware of the activity of the other association, and they encourage each other, and the other progress they do now, they are legalized themselves, so they are recognized by the government. And the most important thing is because they become like stronger. If there's a conflict, for example, they know how to address the conflict. It's not just one people address it. They sit together, they decide how we can address it. And they, after discussing, okay, they decide to delegate a team to resolve the problem. If there's something that overpass the capacity, they come to our stage. They say, okay, we see something, you know, we want your advice. Is that to go to resolve the conflict? But okay, we want to just listen. What's your advice about the situation? And once we just share with them, they ask questions, and then, you know, they go by themselves to create. Also, in the past, they tried to guide the microcredit program. Today, they just manage everything by themselves. The only thing we help them, just we track, you know, we keep the data for them. Like, you know, just a way just to support them, but they just do everything by themselves. Today, I say, like, the Women Federation is one of the biggest women association I've ever seen in the country and anywhere where I go. So I think it's a really amazing association.
That's great. Okay, so we have promised to be finished in about an hour. So I'm going to do 2 more questions with Renaud, and then we'll be wrapping up for the evening. I want to remind everyone that this isn't your only opportunity to ask questions. So please feel free to keep them coming, even if it's just by email. We'll do our best to respond. And if you have a particular interest in the breadfruit project, I'll be telling you in a minute a little bit more what you can do to get more information about that. So Renaud, two more questions for you. We know that in the midst of all of these positive things that are happening in St. Mark and in Cap Haitian, there are also some tremendous challenges in Haiti because of the coronavirus, but also because of political problems, gang violence, and of course the crazy exchange rate that we have seen recently. So what are the biggest challenges you feel that you and your team and the communities that you work with are facing? And what are some of the solutions that you think are available to help work on those problems?
Yeah, very important question. I don't know if I will be able to tell about all the aspects. The first thing I've seen, like, is political trouble. So we don't have any government in the country. So there's no police, no laws, no, you know, like we collapse. And the way we think we can address that collapse situation, that community approach. We sit together, we say we don't want to count on the president. We don't want to count on the police. Now, this is the time for us to take, you know, destination. This is the time for us to get together to decide what is good and what's not good for the community. So I think that works. In all the villages we work, people understand they have to count on themselves and not politicians. All the problem we face is like gasoline, for example. And every time there is a shortage of gas. So the way we just address that, when there is gas, we store like a barrel of gas or 2 barrels. Away, when there's the shortage, we have enough and we travel at minimum. That's one of the strategy we use at the office. Or the strategy we use, like, we know when, so there's a lot of problem to travel, like to go from area to another. And the way we address that challenge, Matthias and Michael, they try to use people close to the institution, like whole students in Penson. They train them now to become the teachers. If there's something that the teachers from Sema cannot go to Penson, the teachers are just right there. Also, in the past, we use technician from Port-au-Prince, from Maui. So today, they try to develop the capacity of the builders just in Pinson. And everywhere we go, we sit with the people, we say, okay, we don't have to count on people that from Port-au-Prince. So I think there is a lot of challenge, and we try to meet those challenges one at a time, and that works, and everyone just excited about the way we deal with the problem. I don't know if I'm just make a resume, but if you want to know specific things about how we deal with the situation, you just can ask. Maybe I will direct answer.
You're doing a great job of explaining, Rayjon. Okay, I think our last question then, before we wrap things up for the evening, is about the fluctuation, the changes in that exchange rate. So the Haitian gourd versus the US dollar has changed very drastically since the summer. And the question is, how is that impacting rural areas like the ones where you're working?
Yeah, that's a big issue. Why it's a big issue? Because the way that we see economy in Haiti is not comparable to any other country in the world. So even economists can't explain how economy just goes in the country. So how we address that situation? In the past, we pay people in goods, and we have to change the goods, the US dollar in goods, and that changes every day. So today, we fix that problem by just paying all staff with the US dollars. But the problem now, because the rates of currency just fall down, people receive less money, and they're complaining about that. So now what we do, we explain them the situation, and we ask them to come with their opinion, to tell us how we have to address the problem. We have the last meeting about this problem a month ago, and we're gonna have another meetings on Christmas, on December.
I think we've momentarily lost Rayjon as well. Thankfully, that was the last question. I will try to finish on his behalf, but Rayjon, if you rejoin, go ahead and interrupt me. Yeah, so ongoing issue. The rate has changed a little bit more to the positive, but it's still a problem. So as Rayjon said, we are in just constant conversation with all of the staff and with all of our partners, trying our best to mitigate that situation. We're going to have to do a little bit of emergency intervention for sure. We've also been relying heavily on the excellent financial management that our partners have been demonstrating this year, so that we do have some reserves and emergent to move around, because the costs of things have changed so drastically all of a sudden. So right now we feel that we're on top of that situation, but it's something that we're watching very closely, and has certainly become a disaster for a lot of organizations, and more importantly for families throughout that area that are now struggling to just even put food on the table. So we will certainly keep everyone posted as that situation evolves. Okay, John, I think it's about to wrap up for the evening. Breadfruit, again, if you're interested in that project, you've got another opportunity coming up on November the 14th. This is a Saturday evening. It's our second Culture and Cuisine event. get an awesome takeout meal between 5 and 7 from Dolly's Jerk Joint here in Sarnia. You have your choice of the jerk chicken or vegetable curry, full course meal happening. And then we are going for our virtual tour to learn a little bit about the Caribbean in general, but to welcome special guest speaker Mary McLaughlin from Trees That Feed Foundation. And Trees That Feed are actually the partner that are infamous for breadfruit initiatives throughout the Caribbean. Mary is originally from Jamaica, where breadfruit has been highly successful in combating environmental problems, soil erosion, and just helping with reforestation. And it's something that is also seeing tremendous success through Trees That Feed in Haiti. Renaud himself was actually trained by Trees That Feed, was able to travel to Jamaica and see their projects there in action. So we're really excited to hear from Mary, and then of course keep the conversation going about what the Haitian Women's Federation is doing, what we're looking forward to in the future. Rayjon's AGM is also coming up. If you're one of those people who loves the nitty-gritty financial details and you want to hear more about what all of our committees, all of our activities have been in the last year, please know you're more than welcome to join us for the AGM. We'll be at 6:30 via Zoom. And if you check out our website, Rayjon, you'll find all the information, the package that you need to connect to Zoom. Final note from me is that our annual appeal is about to go out. There's definitely a story about one of the women that you saw in the video this evening. Her name is Fedna. Her story will be shared as part of our annual appeal. So please consider whether you would support Rayjon with a donation this holiday season. And in particular, we're going to be fundraising to support those women. And thank you, Gord, IT support, and reminding me this screen is wrong. Sorry, November the 26th is a Thursday, not a Tuesday. So join us for our AGM on November the 26th. And John, with that, I will hand things back over to you.
Okay, thank you, Heather. And just a very brief thanks, Heather, to you, to Gord, to Renaud, to Andre, and all of you who participated. Thank you all so very much. And that's all from me. It's been an inspiring evening. I've loved all the different updates from around the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And I'm just going to hand back now to Heather just to wrap up with the connection survey, if you don't mind. So I'm going to take my leave of you and wish you all the very best. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, John. Feel free to take yourselves off mute. I know that Renaud is still on our call. We didn't ever get Andre back, but if you want to take yourself off mute, just say a thank you and give a round of applause, especially for Renaud and Andre, our special guests from Haiti. And please go ahead and fill out that poll for us. Thank you, guys.